Meet Terry and Carrie. They want an RV. Really, they want the freedom that comes with being able to pick up whenever they want and to move from one breathtaking view to another. The kind of freedom that takes them across the country and beyond, living their dream. But if they buy the wrong RV, it might actually pop their dream world. Maybe they pick one that's too heavy to tow for their vehicle, or go with the wrong dealership who won't service their RV. There are questions to ask before they buy, and even more once they become an owner. Thankfully, there's the RV Advisor, the only non-biased platform for information for the RV and outdoor enthusiasts. Get the best tips, tricks, and discounts at all KOA nationwide campgrounds, and other huge discounts that every RV enthusiast will love. Now, Terry and Carrie are living the life exactly how they want. Join the RV Advisor family and enjoy everything you need to maximize your RV experience.
This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and joining me today, it is Ashley Klukowski, and Ashley is with Born Explorers. She's part of a whole family of Born Explorers, I guess you could say. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's really right.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is great. I'm on your Instagram page, which, by the way, has over 17,000 followers. That's pretty awesome. Folks are tracking your adventures, and it appears to me that you don't just go only, you're not bound just by the U.S. or North America or in general. It's more around the world. I've seen you've been to Prague and Lisbon and Israel and I think Italy, the Faroe Islands, a bunch of different places. Pretty awesome. That's, that's great. So tell me about the origin. I mean, Born Explorers, when did this all begin?
Well, it started, we actually had the opportunity to move to Europe with my husband's job about 10 years ago. And so we were living in the US and we moved to Europe, and I was pregnant at the time that we moved. We moved actually to Prague. Uh-huh. And we knew that we wanted to take advantage of the time we'd be there. We had no idea how long. We figured, probably 2-3 years we'd live in Europe, and we just wanted to see as much as we could while we were there. Yeah. So our first child was born, and we didn't waste any time, just started traveling. And so that was kind of the idea. He was born an explorer, and as were the rest of our kids. So that's how it got started.
How many kids do you have?
So we have 3 kids now.
3 kids. Yeah. And so this comes up a lot because people travel, and to me, travel is one of the most educational things you can do.
Definitely. And
particularly if you've got kids who see the world just outside their own, quote unquote, their own hometown. Mm-hmm. Man, that's just wonderful, because it's such an education culturally, historically. There's just so much to learn. Yeah. And of course, Europe is a great starting point because of all the different languages and cultures in really not a large square area. You can be in different countries with a day's drive, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we actually, after we lived in Prague, we wound up moving to Switzerland for 5 years, and that was even the location. You're right in the middle of Europe, and our house where we lived, we were 5 minutes from France. I mean, literally, like right across the border. So we'd go grocery shopping in France, and it's pretty unique. We joked all the time we could be in 3 different countries in a day, and did.
Yeah, so. How awesome is that? Yeah, Switzerland is very strategically located, I guess you could say, for going a lot of different places.
It's great, yeah.
And of course, in you hear Italian, you hear French, you hear German throughout the country, right? Exactly. How is your language come along? I mean, I'm guessing you speak a little bit of a few things. I mean, obviously English
Yes.
is your first language, but what other languages do you speak?
Yeah, well, my husband, so he's from Poland, and so he's fluent in Poland and then in Polish, and then he's been speaking Polish with the kids. So I have an understanding of Polish. I can't say I can speak it, but I can understand.
You can
Up to maybe
follow
a
it. Yeah.
3-year-old level, and then that's beyond me. But when we lived in Prague, we were pretty lucky to just get by with English. We learned the basics of restaurant check and greetings and things like that. But it was really easy to get by on English. And then when we moved to Switzerland, we took French, and so now my French it's okay.
It's okay. You can,
it could, yeah, I could improve, but we've got some. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I say I could improve on my English. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always an education. There's always words I have a thing on my computer that comes up when it's in rest mode, and it's always popping up new words.
That's good.
It's like, you look at it and it's like, huh, I gotta say I've never seen that word before.
Yeah.
So that's what that means, and it's in English, so that's kind of cool. So Ashley, the traveling, obviously, through Europe was a great, like we said, great starting point, launching pad for this idea of travel as a norm.
Yeah.
So let's jump to the U.S. and Canada. I mean, you're in Toronto right now, but I'm sure that under normal circumstances, under pre-COVID circumstances, you travel in an RV and kind of get around, and share that with us.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, we just moved to Toronto from Switzerland in December. And so when we moved here, we already had trips booked. We booked flights for Panama for this past spring that obviously then had to get canceled. And we went back to the US and spent some time. So yeah, normally we would just be continuing on, seeing as much of Canada as we could. I know there are great opportunities for RV travel in Canada. I'm always going on websites and blogs and getting new ideas and inspiration because Canada is such a huge country, and there's tons of nature, and it's just perfect for RV travel, really.
Yeah, and so much of it is uninhabited. I mean, we're all familiar with the big Canadian cities, and Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver and Calgary and all those places. But, there's just huge expanses of areas that there's very few people.
Exactly.
And to sneak away to some of those areas, which are breathtaking beauty-wise. I mean, I've not been personally, but I've got friends that have and have shared videos and pictures, and it's gorgeous. So
it is gorgeous. It's really pristine nature. We also had the opportunity this summer to go out to the Canadian Rockies, and that was a really unique experience because normally we've always wanted to go to Banff, that's been on our bucket list, and Jasper, and we would normally not have gone in the summer just because we don't like the part of our thing is we kind of like off the beaten path travel, and we like we don't like to be in places where there's just tons of crowds. And so we would have gone, but just not in summer because it gets so packed with tourists. So this summer, without all the international tourists, it was a really unique experience to get to see it, without the crowds and just kind of quiet. And it was really an opportunity. So.
Yeah. Well, we want to hear more about some of your adventures and travel with a family, and see how that all goes. And just, I know it's can often be take a lot of planning and negotiation. So we'll learn about that on the flip side.
Okay.
As we said, take a quick break. This is the RV Advisor podcast. My guest is Ashley Klukowski, and she is from Born Explorers. You can follow her on Instagram. We'll be back in just a moment. The RVACA is a charitable organization protecting the rights of RV owners. With your help, we'll work with dealers and manufacturers to ensure quality controls in place prior to delivery of an RV. Additionally, the RVACA provides assistance to disaster relief victims. Visit rvaca.org. We are back on the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and I'm with the Born Explorer herself. It is Ashley Klukowski. And Born Explorers, and if, by the way, if you want to check out Ashley's site, the best place to go is Instagram. Instagram, it's born_explorers. That's where you find her. And lots of gorgeous pictures. I was scrolling through here, and I'm just seeing, in Switzerland and all over the place, just beautiful. And of course, like you said, you've got 3 kids. So, and they range in what age? I think you said you have a 10-year-old.
So the oldest is 9, and then we've got a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Okay, so that's that's got some range in it there.
That's right. Yeah.
Now you've got what? A boy and
I've got 2 boys, and then the youngest is a girl.
2 boys and a girl. Okay. So it's, certainly when traveling, as I can remember myself being a little guy and kind of being a thorn in the side of my parents sometimes. And of course, I know the other side of that is being a parent myself.
Yeah.
With a young boy at the time. He's 23 now.
Okay.
So he's a little more well behaved, but it is always a challenge. You're traveling long distances, keeping them occupied. Kids get cranky sometimes. It happens. So how have you learned to master that, or haven't you?
I don't think it's possible to master it. I think the key to traveling with kids is flexibility. The whole thing is that they get cranky, they have tantrums, they do all that at home. So, what's the difference between whether you're doing it at home or you're doing it while you travel? It's definitely, there's always a point every trip where my husband and I look at each other and say, why are we doing this again? Mm-hmm. But, by the time we get home, it's all forgotten, and all we think about are the great memories we made, and, we're planning the next trip. So it's worth it.
What kind of work do you do? You and your husband?
So my husband, he works in marketing and sales for a big company, and then I stay at home with the kids and just do the blog and some writing on the side.
So you're able to do that from the road. I guess your husband can do some marketing from the road. I guess as long as he's got.
Yeah. So he normally. Living in Europe, they have quite the vacation benefits. So we would just maximize all of those along with holidays. And so basically when we were living in Europe, it worked out to taking about like one kind of larger trip a month, larger by meaning like a long weekend or, 3-4 days. And then, so we would do that once a month, and then we would have a couple of throughout the year, like the bigger trips of 7 to 10 days. Yeah. So we did it frequently. Now it's kind of changing. Even aside from COVID, it's obviously different. Traveling in Canada, the distances are just so much greater. So.
Yeah, and obviously COVID has been a thing. It's come up on this show countless times since the pandemic hit earlier this year. Mm-hmm. And it's affected people in different ways. But the one thing that we all sort of share is caring for each other and trying to look out, for ourselves and everything else, and, trying to be smart about things and staying as safe as possible, obviously. Mm-hmm. Have you encountered on any of your trips at all, anything noticeable that you've had to deal with that maybe under normal circumstances, besides mask wearing and that kind of thing, that you've noticed that's kind of stuck out at all during your trips?
the only thing really is just more pre-planning, I would say. So for example, when we were in the Rockies, you know, if you want to take the cable car up to the top of the mountain, you can't expect to just go there and buy your tickets. You have to book everything online and in advance, so that you're not standing in a line.
Right.
And to be fair, I don't mind that policy. I mean, it makes it easier, especially traveling with kids, to just know that, okay, we've got our tickets and we can show up at a certain time instead of having to wait, you know, 30 minutes in a line with the kids.
Right. It planning ahead can under normal circumstances can be pretty advantageous.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes people, we've had folks on the show that are real, well, they're nomads in spirit, and they also sort of apply that with their philosophy. It's like, well, let's just see where the road takes us today.
Right. Yeah,
And,
I think that's probably harder now.
yeah, I think it's a little harder now, but under normal circumstances, is that something that you guys maybe do and just say, hey, you know what, no plans on the nothing on the docket today, so let's just see where we go and just take a drive somewhere. Does that happen?
Yeah, sometimes we usually are not so free to just leave it where the road leads us, but you know, we definitely would pull up the Google Maps and just say, you know, let's go check this out. Or,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you ride around in?
So I have BMW, just an SUV, and then my husband has company car for work.
Oh, okay. So not an RV per se. You know.
No, so not an RV. We only would rent one, which we hoped to do this summer and then didn't wind up getting a chance to. So
Right.
it's still on our list.
Yeah, we always tell folks that, you know, if you're not a full timer or even a part timer,
Yeah.
having an RV, the best bet is to rent, try it out, see if you like it, you know, because it's look, if you're going to buy one, obviously it's a significant investment.
Yeah.
And it comes with some responsibility and everything else. So, you know, you want to make sure it's for you.
Exactly.
You know, and I know that sometimes we've had people that they said they've come on the show and they've been RVers for a while, and they've said, you know what, we decided we just take a little break from it, and so we sold our RV and we moved into a place, a brick and mortar. It happens, and but at the same time, the one sort of commonality that comes up a lot on the show is the community, the traveling community, the RV community, which is great, you know, and it's such a close knit, you know, sort of friends, meeting friends you didn't think you had, kind of a thing, you know, and then all of a sudden here you are and you meet in different places around the country. It's a pretty cool. But it certainly sounds like you have carved out a really fun, you know, fun niche for yourself, being able to go to different places with your family. The kids learn. I have to ask, you know, as far as your kids taking in this traveling, you know, what, you know, is it something they all, I mean, obviously you've got a very little one, but the two older ones, do they really kind of look and think, oh, wow, you know, I'm going to learn something. Are they interested in about the places they go? Do they take an interest beforehand?
They definitely are interested. Yeah. Before we go on a trip, we normally read some books, learn some things about the places we're going. And then, they're definitely curious about the places, curious about the things they're seeing. You know, it's been such an opportunity when we go to countries where we've been to, you know, some Muslim countries, and they've seen people at the mosque washing their feet and had questions about that. And, you know, it's just such an opportunity to give them this world education and just, you know, make them see that we're all just people. We do things differently. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And they are interested and they're curious and they love travel. So
wow. You know, that's fantastic, and what a worldview and what an education they'll have as they grow into their adult years. You know,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
a whole different perspective. It's terrific. So, well, Ashley, why don't you again share with folks where they can track your adventures and learn more about Born Explorers.
Yeah, so our Instagram account is Born Explorers. It's born_explorers. And then we've also got a blog. It's www.born-explorers.com.
Terrific. Well, there you go. It is Ashley Klukowski, and she joined us today from Toronto. Born Explorers is the home site on Instagram and of course their blog as well. Check it out. Worth seeing, and those pictures, where do you see them? Pretty spectacular photos, that's for sure. Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks very much.
This is the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.